Studies have shown that 30 to 40% of Americans already have their information being traded on the dark web. Using about $2 worth of children's modeling clay and my very bad art skills, I'm going to show you exactly what the problem is and how to check if your information is on the dark web. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
What is the dark web? Well, this is my very bad example of what the internet looks like. It's often described as an iceberg. The very top is what's called the surface web. That's the white part. This is what you can find on a internet search. If you went into Google or another search engine and you typed in Holy Schmidt, for example, you'd be able to find my website, holyschmidt.com, and on there you'd see a lot of different public information that's highly searchable, actually. Then the middle part is what's called the deep web. The deep web is not accessible by a search. You actually need to have a password to get into it. It's often something that involves money, usually something like a bank account or a paywall. If you bought a course like my course, Social Security Simplified, for example, you would need a password to get in. Because you need a password to get through the different layers, once you get to a password protected layer, that becomes the deep web, and Google and other search engines can't search that part of the web. And then down here at the bottom, this little part that is black is what's called the dark web. First, the dark web was originally created to protect intelligence communication online by setting up several layers of encrypted information and routing and rerouting the access. It became nearly impossible for someone to intercept intelligence communication going through the dark web. Today on the dark web, some websites are only active for a few hours, maybe even a few minutes, allowing a transaction to happen. To get to the dark web, you need a special browser. It's called a Tor browser. I wouldn't recommend downloading it, by the way, but just for your information. And you need the exact URL that you're looking for if you're trying to find something of substance. Now, what is of substance? Well, it can be anything from journalists trying to get information out of a dangerous country all the way up to some very bad things. And even though getting to the dark web is relatively easy, once you're in, if you start poking around in areas where you shouldn't poke around, all sorts of bad things happen. Malware is everywhere. Not to mention that there are traps, dead ends, and other bad things that are occurring on there that are designed to stop you from getting to a particular point unless you have an invitation-only access URL, usually. Now let's talk about your information on the dark web. Surveys reveal that about 61% of American adults believe that their information has been hacked and it is out there somewhere. Academia suggests that it's more like 82 to 85%, and the people who have been hacked just don't know that they've been hacked. But the fact is, there's a very, very good chance that your information is out there somewhere already. Now, this doesn't mean that your information is floating around on the dark web, because, frankly, a lot of information that gets stolen just isn't valuable. But here's the kicker. 1 in 3 Americans already has their data, their valuable data, being traded on the dark web. That's your email address, maybe your phone number, your credit card information, your social security number, your passwords, and a lot of other information on breaches, effectively, on websites, or if you've been phished and you've given that information up unknowingly. The problem is that it's not that rare anymore. It's becoming the norm, and the trajectory is moving from 1 out of 3 to 1 out of 2, maybe 2 out of 3 at some point in the near future, who knows. But because of all of the breaches that are happening on all of the websites across the world, really, there's a very good chance your information will get out there at some point. Once your information is out there, taking it back is very, very unlikely. I would even say it's impossible, because that part of the internet doesn't have a police function. Nobody's in there shutting down websites saying you can't put this information out anymore. So if you can't just pop on to the dark web, put your name in the dark web browser and check to see what's on the dark web, what do? Well, fortunately, there are services that are free that will do the searching for you. The first is something called Have I Been PWNED. Now, the reason I'm spelling it out is because originally the term was Have I Been Owned, but the Ground Zero keyboardist mistook the 0 for P, and that became internet lore, really. But if you go to your Google search engine and type in Have I Been PWNED, the service will pop up. It's absolutely free. You put in your email, and your email is checked against 11 billion breach records. Now, a lot of times companies don't report a breach, unfortunately. They might not know about it, or they know about it, but they don't want the publicity, so they just don't report it. So that 11 billion number doesn't represent all breaches. But if you're on there, there's a reasonable chance that you're on the dark web. The next is very similar. It's called the Google Dark Web Report. You go in and you drop in your email address, and it tells you if there's been a breach, and it actually tells you the information that might be out there. It actually lists things like your email or your phone number, your social security number, and it goes through and checks off about 8 or 9 of the most common data points that are released in a website breach. The third is your smartphone. If you have a password storage app on your smartphone, if there was a data breach on the website that you've stored in here, oftentimes it will tell you that there has been a data breach and your information was leaked. Now, the first 3 that I mentioned, you actually need to do something. You need to drop your information into the app, or you need to go onto your smartphone and look up the password that you're trying to find, at which point it'll tell you if your information has been breached or not. But also there are services that notify you. Experian has one, and they'll notify you if they have found your information is in a data breach. And because Experian is one of the 3 big credit scoring agencies out there, they already have your sensitive information. And so it's much safer, I guess you can use the word safer, if you're a subscriber to Experian. And by the way, we don't have any affiliate relationship with Experian at all. We aren't paid to promote them. It's just another option for you. But if you're a subscriber to Experian, the notification service is quite nice. And then there are paid monitoring services that do real-time tracking of your information. You have to give them the information, but they will do real-time tracking of the areas that you probably don't want to go on your behalf. And these are Identity Guard, Aura, and LifeLock. Like Experian, there's no affiliate relationship at all with these 3. We don't get paid to mention their name here, but these are professional services that will go in and look for your information and let you know if it's in there. Now, scans are great, notifications are great, but a lot of times it starts to become background noise. 44% of respondents have been told that they've received, and they receive on a regular basis, all sorts of alerts that their information has been breached, and they don't do anything about it. And truth be told, I'm part of the 44%. If I change my password on a particular website, I'll get a notification 30 minutes later saying, did you change your password? And you sort of stop looking at that information with a critical eye. When you get the notification saying, did you change your password? If you change a lot of passwords, as I do, you might ignore it. And so when that happens, the problem becomes that's a real live notification that something's happening. So there are what I call the oh shoot signs, where you just kind of know. Your credit score drops. Well, that's a pretty big one that you should check your credit report to see if somebody took out a loan in your name and you didn't know it, and now they haven't been making the payment on that loan. Or if you get a notification from a friend or a colleague that says that they heard you were in trouble, are you okay? If you see these oh shoot moment signs, well, that's an indication that it's something to pay attention to. Now, what do you do if your data has been exposed and it's on the dark web? Well, here's a checklist for you now. It's not all inclusive, but there are probably some things on here that you didn't think about. My guess is a lot of things on here that you didn't think about. The first is change your password immediately, or passwords, depending on the level of the breach that you suspect. Because once someone's on the website with your username and password, you might only have seconds, not minutes, to react before they lock you out. Next, make sure that you have multi-factor authentication turned on everything. In fact, I can't think of a website on the deep web, meaning that you need a username and password to get in, that doesn't have an option to turn on multi-factor authentication. That in and of itself will stop a lot of people who have your information from taking it to the next level. Next, freeze your credit report at all 3 credit bureaus. Now, I do this myself, and it's something that slows somebody down, maybe even stops them completely from being able to take a loan out in your name, because they have to unlock the credit report when they're applying for the loan. If they don't have your username and password to unlock the credit report, well, it's much, much harder, put it that way. Next, monitor your financial accounts daily, your credit card, your bank account, anything where you can take money out or put credit on. If you suspect something, follow the procedures at the financial institution to lock everything down, and also report it to the FTC at identitytheft.gov. Now, one last point here, and that is that the steps that I just mentioned are not really optional in this day and age. You can choose not to do them, and maybe you'll be okay, but they take you one step closer to being able to protect yourself, because as I said at the beginning of this video, once your information is on the dark web, it's on the dark web. It's not coming out. And remember, it's not if your data is on the dark web today. It might not be, but it's a question of when it actually gets to the dark web, not if it's on the dark web. But the good news is, with free scans, paid monitoring, and digital hygiene, you can protect yourself and limit the damage. If you like this video, check out that video, 7 Things a Retiree Should Never Disclose. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.